The drills in the money pit have stopped. The team has been sent home. Why? Because after years of searching, the Lagina brothers found something. But it wasn't chests of gold. It was something so frightening that it triggered a full-scale government takeover of Oak Island. The biggest secret in North America has finally been found, and now it's classified. The ground shakes. It all started on what felt like just another day on Oak Island, but you know how it is on that mysterious patch of land. No day is ever truly normal. The air was thick with salt and anticipation. Over at the money pit area, the energy was buzzing. The team was focused on a new borehole, a deep shaft they called DN 11.5. This wasn't just a random spot, this was ground zero, a location their data suggested was hiding something big. The extraordinary geologist Terry Matheson and the island's own walking encyclopedia, Charles Barkhouse, were practically glued to their chairs. Their eyes were locked on the giant drill rig, watching it like hawks. They were hunting for what they called the gold mine zone, a layer of earth somewhere between 80 and 120 feet down where gold readings had gone off the charts in the past. The team gathered around the pounding machine, their faces a mix of hope and nervous energy. They were in a race against time, a race against the island itself. Mike Tedford, the master of the drilling operation, was at the controls, his hands expertly guiding the massive steel rods deeper and deeper into the stubborn ground. Then it happened. Out of nowhere, Mike Tedford pulled back on the controls. The deafening noise of the drill stopped, leaving a sudden, shocking silence. He shouted over the humming generator, and his words sent a jolt through everyone standing there. At the 90-foot mark, he hit something. And it wasn't just a rock. He said he felt the drill rods suddenly break through a hard layer and then nothing, just empty space. Truth be told, Charles and Terry were absolutely thrilled. This was a game changer. Their minds were racing, imagining all the possibilities. Was this it? The treasure vault? A natural cave? They peppered Mike with questions, their voices cracking with excitement. They had to know for sure. Did he really find a hollow space 90 feet below the surface? Mike, with a grin that could split a log, confirmed it. "Oh yeah," he said, "there's a whole lot of empty space down there." It was a mind-blowing moment. They knew right then and there that they were standing on top of something of enormous importance. This wasn't just another false lead, this was a solid physical void where a treasure chest or something much bigger could be hiding. But what they didn't know was that this void was just the beginning. The very first clue to a discovery so unbelievable, it would change everything they thought they knew about the island's mystery. Charles Barkhouse knew they couldn't keep this to themselves. "We need to get Rick and Marty on the phone right now," he urged. The team moved fast, their hearts pounding. After Charles made the call, it didn't take long for the Lagina brothers, Rick and Marty, to show up at the site. The looks on their faces were pure excitement. Rick, in particular, was practically buzzing. The money pit drill program was his baby, and the coordinates for DN 11.5 had placed them right in the heart of the treasure zone. This spot was special. It wasn't just a hunch. Past tests showed super high gold values in the water samples from this area. It had tons of air pockets and strange voids. It was a gold mine waiting to be found, or so they hoped. Rick gathered his team in the famous war room to go over what had just happened. Everyone wanted to hear the story of how they found this incredible new clue. Mike Tedford explained it again. He said that when he was about 90 feet down, he felt the drill rods punch through something solid. Then for about 1.5 feet, there was nothing but air. It was like breaking through a floor into a hidden room below. You can only imagine the excitement in that room. They were completely overjoyed. But this is where the story takes a sharp turn into something even weirder. Terry Matheson, who was always looking at the bigger picture, pulled up the maps. He was as sharp as a tack and noticed something that gave everyone goosebumps. He pointed out that the coordinates for their new hole, DN 11.5, and two previous holes, DN 12.5 and DN 13.5, were all in a perfect line. They formed a dead straight line running from east to west. "What if," Terry said, his voice low and serious, "what if these aren't separate voids? What if they are all part of one single massive structure hidden 94 feet underground?" The room went silent. A structure? A building? Buried that deep? It seemed impossible. The biggest question on everyone's mind was suddenly not, did we find a treasure chest, but did we just drill into the roof of a secret underground building? And was this structure connected to all the gold they had been finding in the water? They were piecing together a puzzle that was bigger and more complicated than any of them had ever dreamed. The scientific data was pointing them toward an incredible conclusion, but they needed proof. They couldn't just rely on a hunch, no matter how strong it felt. And that proof was about to come from the lab, carrying with it a revelation that was both amazing and deeply unsettling. The mood in the war room was a mix of tension and hope. The team was finally gathered to hear the results of the samples they had sent to the lab. They had taken a core sample from the drill at DN 11.5 right from the edge of that mysterious void. Specifically, they sent in a piece of wood that the drill had chewed up when it broke through the floor of the chamber. Now it was time for the science to speak. Emma, an incredibly smart specialist in ancient metals, was on the video call, ready to present her findings. She had run the sample through a special machine called an XRF spectrometer. It's a fancy piece of equipment that can tell you exactly what elements are in something, right down to the tiniest speck. She started by explaining that they had used the machine on a sample of dry wood that was pulled up from the 90-foot mark. First, she listed the usual suspects. "We found all the normal materials you'd expect to see on Oak Island," she said, showing them a chart on the screen. There was iron, manganese, titanium, calcium, potassium, and aluminum. The team nodded. They'd seen these results 100 times before. But then Emma paused. She got a little smile on her face. "However," she said, "this is where things got interesting. We found a very strange anomaly, an element that shouldn't have been there." The whole team leaned in closer to the screen. "Gold," she announced. The room exploded. Shouts of "Yes, and I knew it" echoed off the walls. They had found gold. Not just in the water, but in a solid piece of wood pulled directly from a man-made structure 90 feet down. The excitement was overwhelming. After all these years, this was the physical proof they had been searching for. The team, trying to stay calm, had an honest chat with Emma. Was it possible this was just a fluke? A mistake in the results? Emma just giggled and confirmed that the gold was absolutely there. It stood out from all the other data like a shining beacon. Then she dropped the real bombshell. After more tests, they figured out how much gold was in the wood. It was about 0.04% of the total weight. Now that might not sound like a lot, but think about it. This was a single tiny piece of wood, randomly picked from what could be a massive underground tunnel or chamber. If this tiny splinter had that much gold, how much gold was hiding in the rest of the structure? Shockwaves went through the crew. Rick's mind was racing. He couldn't help but think that these strange findings were the key. This was the signpost pointing them directly to the legendary treasure. Their hope reached a whole new level. But as they looked closer at the report, they realized this wasn't just any gold. The way it was bonded to the wood was bizarre, unnatural, and it was a clue that would lead them from a treasure hunt to a terrifying mystery. Not of this earth. When the excitement from the gold discovery finally wore off, a strange and scary feeling took its place in the war room. The team looked closer at the lab report and the story got a whole lot weirder. You see, the gold wasn't just stuck to the wood. The report said it was mixed right into the wood's tiniest parts, bonded with it in a way that just shouldn't be possible. The team agreed that no one, not back then and not even today, had the tools to do something like that. The piece of wood itself was also very strange. It was hard as a rock and had a weird metallic feel. A few team members even remembered that it seemed to give off a faint buzzing feeling when they held it. This wasn't a pirate's treasure chest. The clues pointed to a mysterious group of people who had technology that was way ahead of its time. The team started to feel a mix of excitement and real fear. They figured this treasure might not be a prize, but some kind of dangerous machine. They knew they had to see it for themselves. The decision was made to send a special camera down into that 90-foot deep hole. As they got the camera ready, a spooky feeling spread across the whole island. They were about to look into a place that had been sealed for hundreds of years, and they had no idea what they were about to wake up. On a cloudy, gray day, the team huddled around a TV screen. They were about to send a fancy underwater camera with bright lights and a microphone down into the dark shaft. Everyone was quiet as the camera started its journey down. After passing through that weird metal-like wood, the screen went black as the camera entered the empty space. An order was given to turn on the lights. The powerful lights blinked on, but the picture was all wavy and weird. A loud buzzing noise came out of the speakers. The team knew that some kind of energy field was messing with their camera. Through the fuzzy picture, they could see the inside of the chamber. The walls weren't made of wood or stone, they were made of a smooth, dark stuff that seemed to swallow the light. And get this, the room had crazy angles that didn't make sense, like something from a bad dream. Then, for just 1 second, the picture cleared up. The whole team gasped. In the middle of the room was a big dark thing with glowing gold lines pulsing inside it. It looked ancient, strange, and somehow alive. At that exact moment, the buzzing from the speakers turned into a deep, low hum that you could feel in your chest. It made everyone feel sick and dizzy. A frantic call was made to pull the camera up, but it was too late. The light on the screen flashed, the speakers screeched, and then nothing. The camera was gone. The team just stood there, completely shocked and terrified. They hadn't just found treasure, they had found something else. The silence after the camera went dark was heavy and scary. The team was frozen, knowing they had bothered whatever was hiding in that hole. They had looked into a dark place and something had looked back. They didn't have much time to think about it. Less than 2 hours later, they heard the loud thump, thump, thump of helicopters. 3 black, secret-looking helicopters landed near the money pit. Super serious guys in dark suits got out and moved with a creepy, quiet speed. One of the men in a perfect gray suit walked right up to the Lagina brothers and held up a piece of paper with an official stamp on it. He told them in a cold voice that the United States government was now in charge of the island because of a rule called the National Security Act. He said all their work had to stop right away. Rick was shocked and argued that this was their private land in Canada. But the man in the suit wasn't moved. He calmly explained that the Canadian government was helping them. He said that government satellites had picked up a huge, strange blast of energy from the island. It was a type of energy they had never seen before. For the safety of the world, they had to take over and find out what it was. So, was it treasure, alien tech, or something far worse? Why did the government shut it down? Drop your theory in the comments, like the video, and subscribe for more.